Welcome in, Oklahoma Sooners fans, college football fans, everyone who's joining in with us live right now. Go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Welcome into Oklahoma Sooners Live, usually here by myself, but tonight joined by a very special guest and a good friend of mine, Jay Smith from Unfair Sports and Locked On Sooners, pretty much everywhere. I mean, if you look into Oklahoma football, Jay's face pretty much pops up just about anywhere. But how you doing, man?
I'm pretty good, my man. How about yourself? Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm hanging in there. New to this channel, I feel like still. Maybe I can't say that anymore, but I'm really hanging in over here and having a good time, and of course excited to have you on because it's like we were just saying in the before going live, man. It's been a little while since we've been able to hang out and chat for a little bit and chat OU football at that and getting closer to the season.
Exactly. Yeah, no, you got some new digs and stuff. You're still doing big stuff. So congrats on the next venture, and let's see where this takes you.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, for everybody who is watching, we are only on YouTube. We're not going to be live on X tonight or anything like that. So make sure to jump over and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit that like button. Jump down to the live chat. We will keep an eye on the live chat. I will make sure that I do that. And then, of course, tonight is going to be an episode where you can call in live with us and share your thoughts, comments, concerns, whatever it is that you've got for us, throw it out there. I will be dropping that link down in the live chat on YouTube here in just a minute, and then that way, whenever we're ready to go, you guys can jump in there and call in live to ask Jay or myself. We might be joined by Chad even possibly later. He was texting me a little bit earlier and saying he might be able to jump on around 7:30 or so. So he might be around for the call-in section at least. But tonight, kind of continuing on to a little bit of a series that we started last Thursday. Let's see, we talked about Eli Bowen, and we also talked about Derek Simmons. We're talking about two sides of the ball, talking about two players on each side of the ball, one player on each side of the ball, I should say, and talking about an offensive player, talking about a defensive player throughout this series that is going to really be a key player for Oklahoma. Looking forward to the 2025 season. And last week, of course, talking about an offensive lineman and a cornerback, two rooms that I think are very important for Oklahoma this season. And then, of course, tonight we're going to be talking about a running back, and a running back that I think a lot of people are very excited to talk about, very excited to see on the field and see the product and see what he's capable of. And we're also going to get to a guy that we loved watching last season, over on the defensive side of the ball, a sack machine, a man that's able to get back there and cause some chaos. But first, let's go ahead and get started with the offensive side of the ball. And starting off with this workhorse back, this running back that Oklahoma fans don't know about yet. Oklahoma fans don't really know what he's capable of yet. And there's a lot of hype around him. But again, where does that hype go? Because I feel like there was a lot of hype around this team last season about this time too. So hype can only go so far, right, Jay?
Yeah, fair.
How do you feel with Jaden Ott? Coming into Oklahoma, of course, rushing for over 1,300 yards, 12 touchdowns in 2023. Had a little bit of an injury and limited time in 2024, so we didn't really see too much from him there. And I would argue too. I know a lot of people are talking about. He was in the Pac-12. What do you make of that? But if you go back to 2023 when he had that big season, look at that Pac-12 again and just step back and admire the work there. I mean, you had a Pac-12 that sent a team to the national championship in 2023. You had a Pac-12 that also had an Oregon team in there. You had Utah on top of their game on defense, as always. I mean, this isn't just your normal Pac-12 in 2023. So, I mean, I think that's something that people overlook. But how do you feel with Jaden Ott, especially having a year off, coming over to the Oklahoma Sooners as possibly their number one back?
I mean, I'd put up 1,300 yards. He's one of the best backs, if not the best back in the Pac-12 that year. And that Pac-12 was very heavy on the quarterback side. You saw a lot of passing. I mean, that's when you had Caleb. You had Cam Ward. I mean, you go down the list, there were quarterbacks galore. throughout all, Cam Rising was actually healthy for a change. Bo Nix was doing things at Oregon. Like, you can go down the list of quarterbacks that was running through the Pac-12 that year. And so running back was, you got some, but not a lot. But Ott was doing some work. I mean, he even did that as a true freshman. So he had 800 yards as a true freshman, 897 to be exact, 8 touchdowns, 1,300 yards rushing as a sophomore. And these are all true years. And then, like you said, last year he dealt with some injuries or whatnot. He had an ankle injury the first game of the season, and it nagged him throughout the entire year. Well, he's now had time to rest it, get it back healthy, and he's not going to be required to be the only running back to do work here at Oklahoma. You still got Xavier Robinson, who showed you some glimpses of stuff. You got Taylor Tatum, that has shown you some glimpses. He needs to fix his fumbling situation. You still got Javonte Barnes, and then you got true freshman Torrey Blaylock. So to me, Ott's going to be your bell cow. He'll be your main guy, but you'll have other dudes to rotate in to help out. But I'm excited about him. I remember watching him in 23. I watched a lot of Pac-12 ball in 2023. That's actually when I started doing stuff with Bleacher Report. And I was paying attention to Cam Ward like crazy at Washington State just because he was fun to watch. Just a fun deal. And so I ended up watching a couple Cal games. I'm like, dude, who is this running back?
Yeah.
Like, who is this dude? And he was cooking out there. And so if he comes in healthy, Oklahoma got a steal with this. And I think he might end up being the best back in the SEC.
Yeah, I mean, he very well could be. I mean, if you think of the running backs that are there in the SEC right now, I mean, I think Oklahoma ranks, man, if not number one, top 3 for running backs. You just named them. I mean, you got Jaden Knott coming in, who shows a lot of, again, potential. We don't know for sure what he's going to be capable of after, taking 2024 off, but he shows potential. And then, on top of that, you've got you still got Javonte Barnes. As long as he's healthy, we know what he's capable of. You still got Xavier Robinson. We know what he's capable of. And then Taylor Tatum, as long as he can hold on to the ball, we know what he's capable of. I mean, that's 4 solid backs. And then you brought up Blaylock as well. You've got.
He's good.
Yeah, he is. I don't know how much you'll see him this season, but if you do, you're going to start to see what he's capable of. Right. I mean, I've seen a few clips of him throughout the spring, and man, it's just like you can see the potential in guys. And of course, you don't want to jump too far in, because we also saw some potential with what could have happened with maybe a tight end or 2 last season that didn't work out for Oklahoma. But yeah, I mean, you talked about it. So going back to that 2023 season, and I actually had the wrong season pulled up, so I'm going to have to click back to 2023. So here's the teams that Jaden Knott would have had to face. You've got Auburn on there. You've got Washington, who went to the national championship that season. You've got Arizona State, who that season, no, not anything great, nothing to write home about. But then you had Oregon State, who had a very good season that back in 2023. Utah, solid season in 23. You had a USC team who, we know what that defense was back then. But then you had Oregon, who was right there on the doorstep of making it to the national championship, at least the playoffs. And then Washington State, who was, just a, solid team, one of those pretty even teams that you definitely got to watch out for. And then Stanford and Texas Tech to close out the season. I mean, those aren't just, wash-up teams to be racking up 1,300 yards on.
Yeah, no, I mean, he got 78 yards against Auburn at home, and they lost by 4 points. And that year, Cal finished 5-7. They weren't that good, their quarterback was a Sam Jackson, so they didn't really have a true quarterback, I guess you could say. So for them, it was trying to figure out, what they were doing. So it was literally the Jaden Knott show that entire season. He was it. Sam Jackson was the starting quarterback, and Sam Jackson was not very good. Him or Ben Finley. Both of them were actually pretty mid that year. Actually, let me see. Jackson played 5 games for Cal that year. Ben Finley finished that year. He started 7, and neither one of them got 1,000 yards passing. So that tells you everything you need to know. What do you think teams did in the Pac-12, in which the Pac-12 was considered one of the better conferences in the country that year? That was when everybody was good. And they were knocking each other off, basically just beating each other up. Mm-hmm. But if you don't have a passing game in 23 that barely got you 1,000 yards on the entire season, who do you think they focused on?
Yeah.
Jay not in the running game, and he still got 1,300 yards rushing in that season, which is crazy.
And rushing for over 5 yards per carry, 12 touchdowns. I mean, yeah, like you said, it was the Jaden Knott show on offense, and he still got the ball out of the backfield quite a bit in the passing game too. With 7.5 yards receiving. Per reception. So this was a dude that really carried that team, and again, like you said, when all of the focus was being focused, in on one man, and that was Jaden Knott. That was where all of it was coming at. I don't care who you are, and it's kind of similar. We'll talk later on about John Mateer, which I know I've already talked about him some, but a lot of the same stuff about him, where again, this is John Mateer. I know Washington State didn't go against too many guys, but this was John Mateer with Washington State talent around him. This wasn't John Mateer with Oklahoma talent around him, and with an Oklahoma defense that can back him up as well. So, I think there's a lot of that. That it's hard to really tell for sure how much that's going to translate. But even if you translate that 1,300 yards over to, let's say, an 800-yard season for Jaden Knott, especially considering, like we just mentioned, the 4 other running backs that might get into the rotation, at least 3 others that will get into the rotation. You have to be pretty happy with that if he's able to reach anywhere. Oh, really, I think over 500-600 yards, you feel pretty confident if everyone else is chipping in too.
Yeah, exactly. You want to make sure that as long as everybody is participating, and this is the best part about having Jaden Ott is John Mateer is already going to probably get you 500 to 700 yards rushing.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's the case, teams are going to key in on him. And I like the fact that we really haven't heard much about Jaden Ott around, because Ott's going to be that X factor that we really don't think about much, because we're so focused. Everybody's so focused on what John Mateer is going to be able to do. And that's actually a very good situation for Oklahoma. You want to be able to go out there and actually kind of quote unquote surprise people. And I think that they're going to have that with Ott kind of coming out the backfield. Now you hear the right people talking about it. They're saying, oh man, Jaden Ott, he's already listed as like a top 5 running back in the NFL draft. And you've got a few people kind of trying to hype it up now. But for the most part, all of the focus has always been on John Mateer. And that's kind of, like I said, that's a good thing for the Sooners. You want to keep it that way. You want to keep it to where that is the talking point for the opposition. And then Ott just goes out there and blasts them, run through their face.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and you look at everything that Oklahoma has back there. I think you and I probably agree. I think Jaden Knott's probably going to be your number 1 guy, right?
Oh, he's guaranteed your number 1 guy. Yeah, he's number 1 on the depth.
Yeah, I would imagine so, unless something crazy were to happen. That's probably your number 1 guy. And I think of days back to Samaje Perine, Joe Mixon. You got a couple of dudes, but right now I feel like you've got 4 that you for sure can throw in there regularly and rotate them out, which is amazing too, because now you're keeping those talented guys all healthy. So I think that's something really incredible. Of course, you might not get the stats that you got from Samaje Perine and Joe Mixon because, for one, they were going against Big 12 defenses. They weren't going against SEC trenches and trying to get through that. But then again, you're going to split the ball even more with the other guys around too. So this is the running back room that I think Oklahoma has been waiting for pretty much since then, since that Samaje Perine, Joe Mixon room. I can't think of a running back room as good as that, or at this level since Samaje and Joe. So, I think this is pretty impressive. Do you think what would be the odds of Jaden Ott being 1,000-yard rusher this year? Do you think?
I
would hit the under, but
I'm going way over.
Oh, you're thinking over 1,000?
Oh, yeah. I think he's going to get well over 1,000 yards rushing, because that's the one thing. They're going to be focused heavily on John Mateer. The whole focal point for everybody when they look at this offense, when they look at this team, is John Mateer and these wide receivers. John Mateer, because the thing is, when John Mateer steps back, you don't know if he's going to actually throw the ball or he's going to tuck and find a little hole and get himself some yards. But you got Ott, and you start handing the ball. And not only do we have more depth We also have guys that have SEC experience. They got punched in the mouth. And it took up until the Alabama game for them to be able to realize, okay, this is how we're going to be able to beat an SEC team. And they did it. A big Alabama team. So don't get it twisted. Alabama's defensive line is ridiculously sized as well as the linebackers. So they figured that out. We just ran down the throat. We just let the offensive line do work, and they show what we can do. Now, granted, we ended up going into the LSU game with injuries. Missouri and LSU, we should have done that against Missouri, and then LSU we going with injuries, and of course you deal with that the entire year. But I think that we've got a 3 deep of offensive linemen that if we do, barring injury, we deal with a couple of them, we'll be able to walk through. We'll be able to actually get yards, and the offensive line won't lose a step. That, to me, is probably the thing that's the most comforting, because I think we've got 3 centers that I think we'll be fine with experience, and I think we've got 3 tackles and 3 guards at each spot that will be able to come in and be just fine.
Yeah, and I think that was what was important about, I guess the bright side that you could pull from last season with the injuries is that you've got young guys that are coming in this year that have experience and very good experience and a good amount of experience in big time moments. So that's definitely something to look at. I did see over in the chat, Robert says, how about Brooks, Stevenson, and Sermon? I don't know if I put that. I mean, man, I could be proven wrong. I don't know if I put that one quite up here with the running back room that Oklahoma's got this season, but it's pretty close.
Yeah,
I liked Sermon a lot, and then whenever he shined for, was that Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game?
Yeah, he got healthy and shined for them.
Yeah. And so
warmed my heart.
Absolutely. And he was one of those guys too that you understood the move out, and then him still he still had his heart in Oklahoma. One of those guys. So it was easier to cheer for him moving on. Kennedy Brooks was definitely not one to overlook, and then Ramondre Stevenson, as long as he was on the field and healthy, and that was definitely a guy that, man, he just ran with such aggression. I'm trying to think who am I thinking of in my head that I can't even think of a team that he's playing for, but just runs with such aggression, high knees, and just plowing through anybody. And I don't know who it is that I'm trying to draw the comparison to, but Chiefs, number 1, I believe. No, not number 1. Isaiah Pacheco.
Oh yeah, Pacheco.
Kind of that smaller build, but just running with high knees and plowing through anybody in his way. So yeah, I mean that's kind of Ramondre Stevenson, but that was a good running back room. I'm not gonna lie. With Jaden Ott, that I think you can see with his kind of explosive. He's able to do just about everything that a running back needs to do. He's got that quick, speed, explosive playmaking ability, but he's also like that guy that's not afraid to go through the middle of the line and find a hole or play a guy over, which of course a little easier said than done, in the SEC.
Yeah.
But that's definitely so much that you can get out of him. He's kind of one of those all around backs that you can fly him in the flat out of the backfield and expect him to make something happen in space, or you can put him between the tackles and expect him to find a hole and hit it.
And that's the best part about Odd. He does all of that.
Yeah.
And you add him, like I said, with Tatum, and Javonte Barnes is going to be the hardest working runner you're going to have on your team. And so you're going to leverage him. You're going to take advantage of him working hard and getting you those extra yards. And then, of course, like I said, a young Xavier Robinson who will hit the hole, break tackles, and go. Oklahoma's got a good situation. We needed more of a veteran back to go along with all the other guys. A one that's put up some big time numbers, that has proven that could be a number 1. And Ott is that piece. And I think Ott is that component to give Oklahoma. He's gonna, especially since he's a senior, this is his last year, so he's gonna have to show out if he wants to go pro. We've been needing something like that, and so this to me is a great great spot for him to stop by and have the opportunity to prove to the NFL scouts that he's ready to play at the next level, because he's been playing in the SEC. So with him and Mateer, Oklahoma's a running back. I'll say that.
Yeah. Yeah, knows how to leverage a running back, and he's got plenty of them to leverage. So it's a great situation to be in. If you compare Oklahoma really to, I mean, worst offensive season since before 1999. I
Yeah.
can tell you that. Last season, I mean, it was atrocious, and obviously a lot of things playing into that. We don't need to rehash that, but still, it still wasn't good. Even with what you had, wasn't working. And so it's got to turn around, and you've got to feel optimistic going forward. I mean, with everything Oklahoma has done going into the 2025 season, I just think that there's so much that has been done for Oklahoma that it just seems like how offenses, which if you are that with the one of the top defenses in the country as we would expect from this defense, then how can this team not be competitive? How can this team not go out there? Of course, a brutal schedule. You've got to work through that. But of course, I think that brings us over to the defensive side, and that's where we'll talk about that sack machine, that man that was just all over the backfield last season and was just able to do so many things. I believe second team All-American last season. I didn't look that up, but I feel like I'm remembering second team All-American, all SEC, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he was.
And then I had 23 tackles, 9 sacks on the season, just a huge breakout star last season out of R. Mason Thomas, the man that just knew how at the edge in the run game, also set the tone. But then just back there, and you look at just about every game last season, and if there was a running back or a quarterback that was trying to get any kind of time to pass the ball, there was one man that was making sure that was not going to happen, and that was R. Mason Thomas almost every time. If it wasn't him, of course, there were several others that step up and do their roles as well. But R. Mason Thomas, that guy on the edge that a lot of people are looking at this season, I think in this past offseason, he was going to come back. I mean, with as big of a season as he had last season, he built up enough of a stock for himself to just go on and do something else. So, I think you look at R. Mason Thomas and that primary edge rusher role that he's going to be playing again this season, and with the spotlight that he's going to get at Oklahoma and in the SEC, there is so much going into this season that I think R. Mason Thomas, it's hard to pick just one, but R. Mason being the second defensive player that I'm picking out and saying that this is a guy that's going to play an incredible role and a very crucial role on that defensive side of the ball for Oklahoma.
Yeah, and he got 6 of his 9 sacks last season in SEC play. So it wasn't just him stacking it up against lower competition. He returned a fumble for a touchdown against LSU while also getting a sack in that game. Got one against an Alabama game, and he got a lot of hits on the quarterback. And so he did last season, and like you said, he's now going to have a massive spotlight on him, which is the best part about having a really good player is everybody's going to be keeping their eyes on him. They want to know where is he going to be at, and because of that, that's going to open it up for a Jayden Jackson. It's going to open it up for a Marvin Jones Jr., who, the former 5-star coming here, ready to completely revamp his quote-unquote career. And the expectation is he should ring out as a big contributor with them. And so I think R. Mason Thomas is going to benefit a lot from him, as well as some of the young guys that we'll start to see play like a Taylor Wine. And Marvin Jones Jr. with R. Mason Thomas are going to be two guys that they'll be feeding off of each other like crazy. As you said, teams are going to watch R. Mason. They know they're going to try to figure out where he's at because of his pass rushing ability. Now, granted, he did most of his damage in the third and fourth quarter. I'd like for him to get some of that in the first quarter, which he probably will now, because whenever Marvin Jones breaks loose, he's going to have an opportunity to get in there. You'll have Jayden Jackson with Dominic Williams, with David Stone, as well as Grayson Halton, Marcus Strong. Those interior guys are going to start to eat up more attention. Also, I actually expect R. Mason to have a better year this year than he last. I think he can actually top 10 sacks only because once everybody else starts to go crazy, teams are going to have to focus back on the entire line, and he'll be able to have lines right there to the quarterback.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, and you're right too. I think it was late in the game, but I felt like there was a lot of times too where it felt like what could have been a crucial moment if the case a lot. This season too, what I think about is that edge. Again, you bring up Marvin Jones Jr., who's another guy, again, playing off of each other and helping each other out, helping each other cause a lot of chaos back there. Could definitely be, something special. But then, you look at the young quarterbacks that Oklahoma's going to play this season. I mean, you think you just go on to Texas, you got Arch Manning being a young quarterback. Of course, some experience there, and then I think even, looking around the league, maybe not necessarily young quarterbacks, but quarterbacks that, don't have as much experience either in the teams like Michigan with the true freshman, trying to think what's the Bryce Underwood. Yeah, I was totally drawing a blank on their quarterback's name. Spend all that money to bring him over from LSU. So I think you look at the young quarterbacks that Oklahoma is going to play, or even Jake Aguilar over with Tennessee, is that Joey Aguilar?
Yeah, Joey
right?
Aguilar. Yeah, Joey Aguilar.
I keep on calling him Jake Aguilar, and it's messing me up. Got a newer quarterback. That you got guys like R. Mason Thomas, who in that system and in the way that Brent Venables draws it up for him is do whatever you have to do to get back there and disrupt that quarterback. If you're not hitting him and getting a tackle for a loss or getting a sack, and who knows, even stripping a ball or two. If you're not doing that, that plays a huge and very crucial role for Oklahoma's defense this upcoming season.
It does. We've got to turn up on the pressures. Last year, Oklahoma did a good job of. I mean, they got a lot of pressure out there. Hits on the quarterback was probably the one that we needed the most. And R. Mason got 10 hits, 16 hurries. He was in quarterback's chest, and he was the one that did it the most. I mean, Danny was right there with them for the most part. So once G-Baby comes in the game, teams are going to be focused on him again too. So that's kind of why you heard from Cole Kublik over there at ESPN, and he was pointing out that he believes that Oklahoma has the best defensive line in the SEC because we got a lot of dudes that are coming back that were young and performing. Now they're more veteran. That's going to be huge. And because of that, teams are going to be watching. They have to watch for everybody.
Yeah.
And so whenever you force teams to have to really babysit every single person out there, you can get away with a lot more with their defensive performance. So, like you said, hitting the quarterback is going to be critical. And I think that R. Mason should double his. He should get more than 16. He should get closer to 30 with Grayson and Dominic and all the other interior guys really putting the pressure on quarterbacks.
Yeah, absolutely. So very excited. Of course, these are two guys that I'm picking as crucial playmakers for the Oklahoma, both on offense and defense. We got Jaden Ott, R. Mason Thomas. Looking forward to seeing what they can put on the field in 2025. Yeah. I'm going to jump over to the chat real quick, but before I do, make sure to hit that link. I just posted a link in the chat, in the live chat here on YouTube. So if you click on that link, you can call in and join us here on the show. I just ask that you keep it clean. You will be in the green room until we're ready to take your calls, but then we will get to calls here right after the chat. So click that link if you'd like to call in, ask questions, concerns, comments, whatever it might be. First, Jeremy says, serious storms in the Lawton area. Hopefully everything's all good over there. And he says, what's your thoughts about Josiah Jefferson, JUCO tight end, the younger brother of Tony Jefferson, legend at Oklahoma? I mean, my thoughts are, he kind of reminds me, man, as far as size, he reminds me of overall, going back to like maybe a Braden Willis or a Mark Andrews type tight end where you've got a dude that's got size, he's got athleticism. He's not been playing football very long, I think only a couple years.
Yeah.
And so, this is, I think that plays into his 3-star that's put on him. but he's a dude. I think he can make a big difference in coming over. I mean, especially in a tight end room that Oklahoma needs to beef up and needs to make much better than what it has been in recent years. So I think I think I saw 247 put their prediction in today that he's coming over. I believe tomorrow is when he makes his commitment. But have you looked too much into Josiah Jefferson there, Jay?
Yeah, I've looked him up. I watched a lot of his film, and like you said, I mean, he's 6'5". He's a legitimate in his height, and he's
I think like 215.
Yeah, I think he's closer to 230. Right,
Is it that high?
I think he listed himself at 215 at the time. I think he's actually
Athletic,
bigger.
man.
That was in November, so there's a
was
good
it?
chance
Yeah.
he's putting on some more weight and stuff. But he's a big kid,
Well, and
he
just
was
high points the ball. I mean,
Yeah.
I love his athleticism. I mean, he comes from the same tree as Tony Jefferson, so you got to love him just for that, right?
Yeah. And when the picture of him standing next to BV and Joe John Finley, and Joe John's a legitimate 6'6" dude, and he's right there at him. So you're getting a big tight end, and that's something that we've been needing. Someone with that and athleticism, and so the tape shows you that the dude can find a way to get himself open. He's going to make some difficult catches, which I appreciate. It's what we've been needing, and I think that he can he can be a good piece in a puzzle. Plus, he's got 3 years and his red shirt. So if he comes in and he's not ready with the playbook, if they think they want to give him some extra time, you may not see him until next season, which would be okay. But at the same time, if he comes in and he shows all his athleticism early and says, "Nah, just get me out there, tell me the routes, let me get my blocking down," and he gets his blocking technique down, he may jump a lot of people on the depth chart. Like the one tight end that I'm the most excited about is Trinae Washington from Carl Albert, because he's 6'3", 6'4", tight end who's very athletic, played a little bit of corner as well, or linebacker at Carl Albert when I watched him in high school, and he's gonna be. I think he's gonna be really solid. Josiah, the best part is you can also throw him out there at the slot at wide receiver too. So you can put him with Ivan Carrion, who's legitimately 6'6", right there in the slot.
Big dudes at wide
that'll be
receiver
nasty
right now, man. You know,
Yeah, you got a good chance of having a couple of really big. And then, the question was asked here about Giovanni Gibson and Jayden.
yeah.
BV mentioned that he expect them back at the beginning of the season. So if you see them both line up Illinois State, don't be surprised. I kind of expect them to both be playing very limited minutes in the Illinois State game, but I expect them to really show up in the Temple game.
Yeah.
Maybe some limited minutes against Michigan, but really show up against the Temple game in preparation for Auburn at home.
And I think BV has put a lot of emphasis this past offseason, and really I think about midway through last season, there was a lot of emphasis on making sure guys are healthy before they touch anything, before they even think about anything. Because even Eli Bowen was a little shaken up with the ankle. They put a boot on him, had him sitting off to the side. You take that thing easy. And from what I heard, it really wasn't anything too concerning. It was just, let's be extra, extra cautious. Put everybody in bubble wrap in spring because we don't want what happened last season to happen again this season. So, I think that's something too that you've got to feel more optimistic going into the season. Obviously, we're gonna still have that PTSD from what happened a season ago. I think Giovanni, I'm still wondering how they're going to do that. Is it going to be J-A-V Gibson and J-A-Y Gibson, I suppose, on the back of the jerseys? I feel like you're going to have to. I know,
right?
So I love it, though. And, I think both of them are going to be probably your biggest wide receivers if they can be on the field. Of course, then you got Deion Burks that's going to line up in your slot, man. This could be, as long as everyone's healthy in that wide receiver room, this could be so special this upcoming season. Then you got John Mateer and everything that goes into it with him. So I think this could be a really good season. I am going to bring in another co-host real quick.
Hey,
we got Chad. Hey Chad, how's it going, man?
Chad?
Can't hear you right now, so my bad. It's connecting. One sec. Let me put this in.
We'll let him get connected real quick.
It's funny when you think about it. You mentioned the PTSD or whatnot from last season. This last season that we had was similar to what happened to us in 2009 with all the injuries. That year we did finish 8-5, and we had Trent Wilson, the All-American tackle playing center in the bowl game because we had no bodies. So that tells you something about how brutal that season was if you have your All-American tackle having to hike the ball and who's now going to be basically a Hall of Famer in the NFL as a tackle. Well, the following year, bring in another quarterback in Landry Jones, you get your life together, and you finish the season 12-2. So Oklahoma has a very good chance of rebounding similar from 09 into 2010, this from 24 into 25. We've got a better quarterback situation, veteran with a good OC. Everything is kind of lining up to where we should be way better than we were the year before. And knock on wood with the injuries, but I believe we have, like I said, just about every position, we have at least 2 to 3 deep that we're now comfortable with. Because remember, last year we were very young. We had a lot of youth across the board. The most veteran side of it was the defensive side, and you had 3 dudes that you knew were definitely going to have to be gone in Stutzman, Woody Washington, and Billy Bowman. And then when you brought in Dez, he ended up being one that was going to be gone because of, being a senior. And then all of your defensive linemen from Ethan Downs to Trace Ford and Caden Woolard, you brought in some additional pieces, but your core pieces of that defense, those 3 dudes, you knew they were going to be gone, but you were bringing everybody else back. That's the thing that's probably the biggest blessing for Oklahoma was last year my expectation was the defense was going to carry us. And we just needed the wide receivers to help a young quarterback get going. We didn't have wide receivers to help a young quarterback, and then the line fell apart. So you got the opposite. But that defense got you 6 wins.
Yeah.
The defense got you 6 wins.
By themselves.
A competent offense gets you 3 more wins, 2 to 3 more wins in that season. And I think that we'll probably see those easily. And there's a chance that we could push it towards 10. I'm still calling 10 wins this season.
I like that optimism. I mean, Chad, I'm going to give you the floor a little bit. Earlier, we were talking about 2 different players. First, I'll give you Jaden Ott. What are your thoughts of Jaden Ott coming into Oklahoma? The difference he can make for the Oklahoma Sooners here up in 2025.
Home run guy. Anytime you get a player that is, you look at the draft grade and he was up there at number 1 or 2 on Pro Football Focus in terms of what he's, the projection of him going into 2026.
Yeah.
Those guys just aren't all over college football. And to have them come to Oklahoma, I think speaks to obviously where he feels he can best progress, but also where Oklahoma still is seen in the college football landscape. And for a Jaden Ott to come in, he sees the kind of offensive Arbuckle runs. Obviously, he's going to be able to get the ball quickly, make plays. It's a guy that we haven't had. He's like a Jason Tatum type athlete, but with the experience that you wanted Tatum to have already, with the knowledge and the strength that comes with it. And to have both of that in the same package, it's huge. He's probably Jay Jot. Who do y'all think he's the most? Assuming it pans out, right? Like, we're all assuming we can't predict. Well, I guess at Oklahoma you can predict injury, but I mean, we're all predicting we won't have a repeat, right? And if my mic's loud or anything, let me know. I can't hear.
No, you're good.
Back out of play.
Oh, no, you're good.
He's probably going to be the biggest. He reminds me of a. I'm trying to think of like a running back that we would have had. Kennedy Brooks is more of a patient runner behind, like a Mixon.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say he's going to be that level of player. I mean, I'd love him for him to be. But
he has the ability.
Just the explosiveness. He's good he catches well out of the backfield. That was one thing I was surprised about. Just on the simple bubble route, simple running back throws, does really well in getting an open field once he's there too. What you can't say enough about it. But just excited to have a player like that. Raises the level of the running back room. Has a guy come in who is going to take minutes, take snaps. So what are the other guys going to do? Are they the guys that are going to buckle in? It seems like Xavier Robinson's a guy that's going to buckle in and become even better to get more playing time. Not that he wasn't going to anyways, but you just see that mentality.
Yeah,
a Barnes coming in. You got to mind your P's and Q's now when you get in the game, because you're going to be pulled and you got people behind you now that are very good, and that will take even more snaps from you than they were to begin with. But super excited about him. And who was the other guy y'all were talking about?
The defensive side of the ball, we were looking at R. Mason Thomas, a dude that we know what he's capable of, but then Jay was even bringing up too. Now you got Marvin Jones Jr. kind of complimenting him and helping him out, and that could free up a lot of space for Marvin Jones Jr. and then vice versa. Now where you've got R. Mason Thomas being able to really make that difference on big time plays.
Yeah, Jay, and first off, congrats on your work anniversary. I saw that came out today.
1 year.
Congrats, man. It's awesome. The Marvin Jones Jr. stuff has been funny to me on one end because the same people that are kind of saying, well, look, there's a reason he's transferring, he's doing all of this, are like the same people that when you look back were excited when they came onto their own teams. It's like I understand. No one here. I'm not expecting him to come in and to be, Dylan Stewart or like that level of. I hope he is, and who knows? Maybe he might be. Sometimes you do need just a different place to go, different scenery, and when you get to a place like Oklahoma, who has a solidified guy, a burner at defensive end like R. Mason Thomas, Marvin Jones Jr. can kind of just let himself be and come into the position naturally instead of having to force himself to play maybe above his skis or play in a way that he's not comfortable. I'm excited about him because I feel like for the first time he can play pressure free without the expectation. He can come in and say, "Look, I'm not the guy right now," and maybe that allows him to be the guy, and maybe it allows him just to play free and play like his talent was projected to be. I know he dealt with injuries and stuff, but man, overall, I think we have a chance to be, and I agree 100% with Jay. I sent a tweet out earlier today, y'all may have saw whatever, just about the injuries, and I was like, I'll circle all the people, starters, and all those who did, and it's like every one of them. And I totally get, like, as fans and as sports fans, we're you're bred and you understand you don't make excuses. And it's like, look, I'm not trying to say it's an excuse. To me, it's a reason why the biggest reason why we weren't good when you don't have your best players. But it's just to point out, like, look, we don't really know how good Oklahoma can be because we didn't get to see our team most of it last year.
Right.
And we're projecting. And I look at and Jay, you put it, so look at what the positions our defense was put in. And even like the QB hurries, you talked about it. But how many times were they down where the other team's just running the ball and running clock and making sure that as long as we don't make a mistake here and have a pick six like you're playing Iowa, we win the game. And It's like, imagine teams are now having to score when a John Mateer puts up 21 unanswered on you. And now teams are having to actually play offense and having to let R. Mason Thomas know you got to throw the ball. And now you run in athletic dudes behind him. Danny Okoye, I'm excited for him, man.
Yeah.
Like seeing his build, his athleticism. I just, I hear all these people, and it's one of those things. It's like, it's kind of like you see something coming, and you're like, please, assuming it pans out. And you're like, I cannot wait for all the people that are saying, look, Oklahoma might win 7 games next year. I don't see them doing. But at the same time, Texas loses a Joe Moore Award finalist offensive line, and they're just supposed to replace all them, no problem. They have a quarterback that's never started. He's just supposed to be a Heisman winner next year. Listen, all that might be true. But I'm just saying, to say that Oklahoma has no projection, but then to say Texas does when they have all their missing, they've lost and not coming back, to me, it's just an incongruent kind of comparison. And it just gets me excited because I think Oklahoma really does have a lot of pieces to be really good next year.
Yeah. The only thing that worries me with Oklahoma and all the bright side that us as Oklahoma fans can see going forward is that everyone else sees it too.
Wow.
And if the media is all seeing it, if you've got Josh Pate noticing it, and my guy Jake Crane noticing it, and you got J.D. Pickell noticing it, you got everybody here at ESPN noticing it, once that starts to piece together, guess who else notices it?
Yeah.
Guess who else knows to watch out for it? You got, Auburn's going to look out for it. South Carolina's going to look out for it. Tennessee's going to look out for it. I mean, everybody is going to have their A game going against John Mateer and, Jaden Ott and, all the wide receivers that Oklahoma's put together out there. And of course, hopefully that they're hoping that that's a healthier room. So there's so much that, we know it can be better. But you've got to be a little worried that everyone's going to know that.
Here's the thing: is that and Jay, sorry to talk so much when I hop on right now, but
no, man, we have the floor. It's yours now.
Yeah, you're 100% right, and I guess I'm coming from the fact that they're going to know that anyways. By the time week 2 is going to show us so much because I think week 2 because Michigan's going to have one of the best defenses in the country. I think they really will, and whenever I think it'll show us if our offense can move the ball, not just with Mateer running around and making play, but like a strategic, uniform, workman-like drives down the field where you have to actually dominate the offensive line, have sustained drives where you're moving the ball like championship teams should. That'll show me a lot because it shows that you can do it against front defenses. I mean, Michigan's front's going to be as good as any we see. We were talking with TJ from Michigan, right, with the Voice of College Football, and Cronin. And the guys they have coming back are just, they're going to be ridiculous up front. And I was telling him kind of about what we have up front with like Jaden Jackson and all. He goes, man, I was like, dude, I'm telling you, Oklahoma's defense is going to be a problem next year.
Yeah, that defensive front is very dangerous.
Imagine you ain't giving up 21 points in 4 minutes.
Yeah,
Your offense,
exactly.
like you're muted, Jay.
Imagine actually forcing a fumble and then not giving it back the next play.
Yeah,
I think that's
the very
probably
next
the one
play.
thing. Literally, the very next play. And
Inside the
back-to-back
5-yard
opportunities.
line.
Yeah, you're probably going to get less of that. But no, when I'm looking at Ott, I think one running back you could probably compare him to that he could probably outperform, but still have a really good year. Damian Williams. They're similar in size, similar runners. Damian ran for like 900 yards. He had like 1,200 yards from scrimmage. I could see Ott easily doing that because, I mean, that season as well, Landry Jones threw for like 4,200 yards. So it depends on how they have the complement, but I think Ott can run for 1,000. I think Mateer is going to be the dude that gets like 500 right behind him because, again,
I like that.
It's going to be easy for them to force defenses to pay attention to one or the other. And it's going to be these defensive coordinators have their work cut out for them this season. And I'm going to be honest, Oklahoma has its work cut out for itself in 2026 when you don't have this and you're now moving Michael Hawkins in and those other young running backs and that people are going to see and understand like, okay, you're going to have a problem with Tatum. You're going to have a problem with X-Rob. You're going to have a problem with Blaylock. One of them's going to jump up. So at that point, you're going to have to figure out how you're going to do it. But this year, defensive coordinators only got one. They've got this season to figure this out. So Oklahoma can truly show up as a surprise. And that's usually what happens is a quarterback can come into a new conference. You may have film on him, but he goes out there with new weapons. And you're like, oh, okay, by November usually is when they're starting to figure you out the best. It can actually have a counterpunch to your punch. But yeah, the big problem for these teams is that you're going to see 1 year of both of these dudes, most likely. And then next year, it's like, all right, back to the drawing board. We got to figure out what the heck Oklahoma's going to do this time with now Hawkins, who's even more athletic than Mateer, but just not much of as strong of a runner. And then you're going to have all these backs that you probably know, but you're not sure which one's going to be one that jumps out.
Yeah. And I mean, I think, you even mentioned it too with Oklahoma. I think with Oklahoma, it's one of those systems too that I think that you're getting John Mateer, that you're getting Jaden Knott, that Oklahoma's built up that offensive line and that wide receiver corps to do better. But what are you going to? What is that going to look like? Know what they're piecing together, but do you know if it's going to all click the way that you imagine it to click? Or is it going to look different? And so I think that's one thing. Like you mentioned, is that it's who you're getting, but you don't know exactly what it's going to look like with all of that pieced together. So I think that's something that can be very interesting when you look over at it. I do see Jeremy real quick in the chat. He says Sooners looking to have Xavier Robinson to get more carries. I think that has to be the case. Last season, it was kind of one of those, I think the biggest failure for Oklahoma and for DeMarco Murray was that you had this guy sitting back in your practice team and just never put him out on the field until at least halfway through the season. And he didn't really get his chance and his shot until the Alabama game. So, yeah, just absolutely crazy. And like I said, probably the biggest failure for this Oklahoma offensive staff and for the Oklahoma, specifically DeMarco Murray. But I do see that we're not joined just by Chad now, but now even Tierney also joining us here. We've got the
boss is here.
The whole Oklahoma, at the Voice of College Football crew plus Jay. So I mean, we got everybody.
Yeah.
Can you
hear? How are you doing tonight, T?
Good. Chad told me he was going to hop on, and I kind of finished eating. I was like, okay, I'll try to be there.
I'm jealous. I want to get in. Good to have you.
I got to get on, man. I got to get on.
Yeah.
What
absolutely.
do you? Let me ask this. Let me ask y'all this. Who do you think? What quarterback in the SEC right now gives y'all the most fear, quote unquote? Is it? I think it's got to be LSU's.
Yeah, and that's mine for sure.
Sellers is mine.
Yeah,
Sellers is
mine. I put Sellers at number 2.
Gosh, that's a good call too.
So I like Nussmeier, and we've seen him, right? So we've seen what he can do. We knocked him out of a game, and then he came back after, in the second half, and our line fell apart, and he went out there and torched us. And their special teams torched us. It was just like you could tell the team was just kind of done. But we've seen Nussmeier, so I'm not as concerned with him. Sellers, though, another year in that system with his athleticism, and he can actually throw the ball. He just didn't really have to do a lot of it until really later in the season. I think he's going to be the one that's going to probably develop into something that's going to be a major threat. He may be one of the top quarterbacks in the SEC at the end of the year. He's the one that scares me the most that we see. If we saw Lagway, I'd say he's number one on my list.
Yeah,
Lagway terrifies me.
Yeah,
100%.
I think I do agree with you with Sellers to the point, if you're taking just the quarterback himself and what he's capable of, Sellers is dangerous. And we saw that all season last season as a freshman. Nussmeier, though, just has so many dangerous weapons around him. That's the reason why I put Nussmeier up at number one. But man, it's a tight race for sure. I'm not going to be overlooking what Lenore Sellers can throw out there at you because he's athletic. He's a big athletic dude too. I mean, he runs he runs like a running back. He's not afraid of contact, and he's tough. And then of course being able to connect and having that arm to be able to throw it downfield too. It's a dangerous situation to have him out on the field for sure.
It's got to be one of the first seasons where there's for sure Sellers and Nussmeier I think are 1 and 2, 2 and 1, however you put them. At least going into the season. I want to see Mateer play against the Michigan just to be fair, because I've always said, if I'm going to hold. Now, Mateer's done it against good Division I competition when he's the starter, had film on him, so it's still a little different there. But it's weird that it's one of the first years where I can remember there's not a team that just has head and shoulders like that guy that like a Baker or a guy that's just known as the guy going into it, right? It's weird. It seems like it's a year where if Mateer or one of these guys can really just leap out, you could see them make runs at not only like trophies, but Heisman, individual awards, things of that sort, where there's not just this one player out there that is just better. Now, DJ Lagway is a guy that I would say when he was playing it, when Florida had him, they looked unbelievable.
Yeah,
he was good. Yeah, and I think if DJ we played him, it would for sure be a different story. Which, by the way, Texas, that's a pretty tough 2-game stretch of quarterbacks they got to face.
Yeah, 2 mobile quarterbacks in back-to-back weeks.
Go to Florida. Have fun with that.
Don't we hate to see them have to go through that?
Yeah, it's just I hate it for them.
Don't we hate it? I mean, they have such a hard schedule the first 2 years in the SEC. Man, you just got to feel so bad for those guys. But I do see that we've got a couple of callers that have been very patient with us as we get through our ranting and stuff. So I'm going to bring in our callers first. We had Dan. Dan, are you still there with us?
Yeah, Josh, what's going on? This is Dan the man, Dan the Buckeye, the most hated Ohio State fan on this platform, and a friend of the Voice of College Football. How y'all doing?
Good. How are you?
What's up, Dan?
Good.
First of all, as I said, I'm a Buckeye fan. Yeah, of course we got beef with y'all, but that beef, I'm gonna set that beef behind me right now at the moment, behind y'all at the moment, if you're gonna hold y'all's beef against my Buckeyes for a moment. And first we say,
Texas, you're in good graces with them.
My wife is a Buckeye. She graduated from Ohio State. I met her when I was living in Columbus. I was blessed to be at the game that Oklahoma was able to start that beef. So I got no beef with you.
But let me just say this. Since y'all been to the SEC, let me point out another team you guys got to keep your head on a swivel on for, and that's the University of Georgia. That Georgia front seven on defense is going to be causing people problems this year. Now that, if y'all haven't been paying attention, follow Georgia Football on Instagram and Facebook at University of Georgia Football. But those guys are in the weight room in there ready to go. Their front seven, front six, their front defensive line along with their linebackers are really starting to get into getting in the hunt, and they're going to get hungry as the season goes on. So, I'm just going to warn y'all, be careful, Georgia, because especially y'all's offensive line, but also your running backs need to be careful, because that front seven, they've been known to stop running backs pretty good. So I thought I'd draw out a little warning for y'all before, the season starts. So, hey, just keep your eyes out for Georgia too. It's not just Texas. It's not just Ole Miss. It's not just, former Heisman Trophy winner quarterback Josh Heupel, at Tennessee. Arch Manning ain't nothing. He's just overrated. And let's be honest, the kid always got the skills because his granddaddy, who's an Ole Miss alma mater, and because he's got the arm of both his uncles, who are Super Bowl champions, in his name. Why do you think all the ladies are messaging him? Because he's Arch Manning, for Lord's sake. I mean, generation blood.
He's a
Bloodline.
good-looking kid, too. You got to give him that much.
But at the same time, you gotta understand, Arch Manning's overrated and if you even ask any Ohio State fan, Arch Manning's overrated.
Yeah,
Like,
we'll see.
I know over 100 Buckeye fans I've asked that said Arch Manning's overrated. Because he is. He's still got a lot to prove, especially when it comes against the top-tier defense like Georgia, Ohio State. That don't add up to me. Like, honestly.
Yeah.
If he can't handle the pressure of getting sacked, because he's gonna get his rear end sacked constantly. But also, he's got to realize he's gonna be in these tough places every single year. He's gonna be having these road games where he's gonna have to go up and shut up and get up in the locker room and face a top tier defense like Ohio State and Georgia. But you know, as a Buckeye, I'm telling you, Sooners, just be careful because when Georgia comes to town, or y'all gotta go to Athens in the Grove, right there in Athens. I'm just gonna warn y'all. On third down, it gets pretty hectic over there, and personally, I know that from a very good standpoint. So,
yeah, luckily
I figured
Oklahoma doesn't play Georgia in the regular season, but I mean, it could come down to SEC championship, even making it to the playoffs. Then you've got to face Georgia. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a team, and that's a
y'all
team
got them in the regular season, actually.
No, Oklahoma doesn't have them in the
Texas
regular
does.
season this season. Yeah, Texas
Well,
does.
next season, you all got to go to Athens next year.
Yeah, next year. I think
Next
you might
year,
be right.
We're not sure yet.
Yeah,
We gotta wait and see if
you're-
the SEC goes to 9 games or not.
Yeah, you might be
Well,
right for next season.
From what I'm hearing, it's supposed to go to like 10 games or something
It
for the
could,
SEC.
it could go to nine games, conference games, just like every other conference. For some reason, the SEC likes to kind of keep themselves above the rest, and keep it to 8, which I'm not going to argue with because you see Oklahoma's schedule and what they got to go through. So
Right, but at the same time, it's just the SEC is one of those conferences that has a lot of wallet to their name, but at the same time,
yeah,
they have a team that just won 2 national championships, and it's like, okay, well, I guess we can lower their schedule because we know the outcome of what they did to every single other opponent on their schedule. I mean, I said it to y'all's buddies across the state line in Alabama at the Voice of College Football. Georgia's defense is the same unit that kept ragdolling every single opponent on their schedule. So, I mean, I'm just giving y'all a fair warning about, the SEC's number 1 team, because that number 1 team is somebody that you don't want to go face on a Saturday night in Athens at the same time in the SEC championship game because they got a good percentage rate. But at the same time,
they basically have home field advantage there for the SEC championship game too.
But
So
also understand, it's not just home advantage. It's not a home field advantage. It's also their defense that's doing their work.
Yeah,
the defense is doing all their work all season long. For the last 3 years, it's been their defense. Offense has been doing a little bit here and there, but as a Buckeye fan and as somebody who witnessed the 2022 East Bowl game against that particular team, it's their defense that does their heavy lifting.
yeah.
And I mean, speaking from a Ohio State fan, our defense does most of our heavy lifting when we got to deal with quarterbacks, but that's just because we're a top tier defense. But I mean, y'all's defense is looking good, but it's just you need to add more guys like Brian Bosworth, somebody like Ted Bruschi, William McGinnis. You guys need to add people like Ray Lewis, Sean Taylor, Ed Reed. Somebody
You
with
don't
their
have any of those
genetics.
guys?
Yeah,
You have a Sean Taylor, Ed Reed?
You want to share any with us?
Yeah.
Well, if you're serious about looking for some guys, I have a couple in mind actually that play cornerback and safety, from up in Marysville, Ohio.
I used to live in Marysville, Ohio. Used to work at the Honda plant up there. So
Oh, nice.
Well, I'll tell you what, there's a couple of kids that are local that play strong safety and cornerback that are really good. They're twin brothers. I know the one is
we like
6
brothers.
6 foot. The one's 6 foot, and I think the other one's 5'11", but they're at least a good 100, or not 170, 200 pounds. The one's about 200 pounds, and then the other one's about 206 pounds. But he's got good size on him. But if you're serious about Oklahoma recruiting somebody, I'd take a look at them if you want.
Well, we'll try to send that up the chain. But Dan, we appreciate you so much for hopping on, man. Definitely the heads up on Georgia and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, no problem, man. As always, go Bucks, and then I'll do y'all a favor. I'm gonna throw the horns down for you because y'all already know we're gonna beat Texas.
We love to throw that around here. We'll be
No.
throwing that horns down on August 30th when the Buckeyes face Ohio State. So that'll be a fun game.
Right, you're dang right. Well, there's a song that says there ain't no love in Oklahoma. Well, I'll say I got respect for Oklahoma because when you throw them horns down, y'all already know. You tell Texas, this ain't your town. This is our town.
Absolutely. Dan, you have a good night. We appreciate you so much for calling in. Stop by again.
And a go Bucks.
Go Bucks. We'll definitely be cheering for the Bucks on August 30th.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he brings up a good point. Not just Georgia too. I mean, Georgia's definitely like the top dogs of the SEC, obviously for the past several seasons. But that's the big reason why Oklahoma was just so happy, to go over to the SEC is that you've got teams like Georgia, you've got teams like LSU right now. I think is one of those teams. You've got, of course, Texas coming over with Oklahoma. You've got so many teams that you can look around and see that the front seven, those trenches, are really where the games are won and lost for sure.
It's true.
Hey, he wasn't lying. Those twin brothers are pretty good. They just committed to Ohio State.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
like that.
looked the part. So yeah.
Well, maybe we can get those two to decommit and get their commitments rolling over to Norman then if they're that good. But I mean, Oklahoma has been known to go up there too. I think this was Deshaun McCullough from Ohio. I feel like he
Indiana, I believe. No. Originally, I think he was from Ohio. Yeah,
I think I know there's been a few that Oklahoma's recruited out of Ohio in the past.
Yeah, I'll look it up.
Well, Dobie's from Ohio. You had Caden Woolard.
I forgot about Dobie.
Kendall Dobie's from there. There was like 4 of them. Reggie Powers is from Ohio.
Yeah, Reggie.
McCullough's from Indiana.
And McCullough's from
Bloomington
Indiana.
South.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I knew he was
they
up
played
there.
because his dad's a coach. His dad coached
That's right.
Notre Dame.
That's right.
So he's moved around from there. So yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it's a lot of fun. But we've also got Harry. Harry's on there. Harry, can you hear us?
Yeah, we're good, guys. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. First of all, I love the show. Firstly,
Appreciate that.
Secondly, I'm really excited about week 2. I think looking through here on the ESPN deal, it looks like game day very well might be here. That's gonna be sick. With game day being here. Besides that Michigan game, guys, what big game besides Texas, obviously. So besides those 2 games, guys, what big game like really stands out to you guys for Oklahoma this year?
I'll start it off and say Tuscaloosa just because of the atmosphere that's brought in there, and I think. I don't think they're going to have a step down. If anything, maybe a step up in the quarterback room. I know they've got an inexperienced quarterback, but I think that could be an offense that's starting to click this season in Alabama. And that's kind of one of those sleeper teams that I'm looking at that I think they could be better than they were last season in some regard, even with as many guys as they lost. I'm looking at Tuscaloosa and being one of those big games personally.
And Chad, you mentioned this earlier to what you mentioned. Quarterbacks, I really think you really need to look out for. And this might not be a very hot topic, but guys, there was a lot of pressure on him. Our O-line was awful. Our wide receivers fell apart. I still love me some Jackson Arnold.
Mm-hmm.
I really think you need to watch out for that game, week 2, or the first SEC week, which is like week 4.
Yeah, I think somewhere around there. Yeah.
Yes, week 4. I don't think that game's going to be a problem. Personally, we'll see if Jackson's starting at that point, because I've been hearing a lot about Deuce Knight from my Auburn people over the last couple months, and it sounds like that dude is fighting for an opportunity. They don't want to start a true freshman on the road against Baylor because Baylor is expected to win the Big 12, so that one's going to be a tough one for them. I don't know how they fare, but yeah, we'll see what Deuce Knight looks like. But honestly, the game that I would say is the South Carolina one. On the road, William Bryce. The only thing, the saving grace of that game is that it's going to be an afternoon game. If that game was at night, I was going to be terrified. We got lucky with that, but it's also coming the week after Texas.
They'd have those midnight black uniforms on if it was a nighttime game too. Scary, spooky stuff.
Exactly, and we'll be playing after a game that's known for beating us up because it's always a physical matchup. We hate each other. We're gonna fight each other. It's gonna be some bumps and bruises. So we're gonna go up against another physical team the following week. So I think that one to me is probably in one of the worst spots for us. Is going from a neutral site game to a road game. Luckily, we have Ole Miss at the crib right afterwards, but I think that South Carolina game is the one that really jumps out to me as a big one.
I had South Carolina too, but I'll say, man,
they're all big ones.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of hard to pick. Tennessee going to Neyland would be sweet. I think we're going to go to that game. Them losing Nico, I wish they still had him and still had. I would be more confident in knowing how good they're going to be offensively. But man, I'll go South Carolina too as my pick. But I'm excited for the Tennessee game. They got some guys still.
They're feeling confident with Joey Aguilar over there.
Yeah,
so I mean, I don't feel confident in him. I don't think he's going to be too great. But from what I've heard from Tennessee fans and from media heads over there, they feel like he's going to be a step up somehow, and I don't know how that's going to be.
And to James' point, although Nico was solid last year for a true freshman, they didn't ask him to do much. If you really watch his games, he was able to just he had a very good defense, and you shouldn't be asking true freshmen to do a lot. That's not a knock against him. That's literally that's like the dream scenario if you have to play a young quarterback. You have a good running game, you have really good running backs, solid big receivers that can go make plays in traffic, which they had all of. And you have a really good defense that can protect you from bad situations, which they did very well with, especially when Arnold was in, unfortunately, for a little bit there. But so like you're saying with Aguilar, if he comes in and there's no telling if he might be the kind of playmaker that Nico could have been or was. You just don't know.
Yeah, he could be.
What do you got, T? What game are you looking for?
I mean, I'm looking
taking about all of them already.
Probably, yeah, you guys have taken all of them, and I like there's
you can repeat.
as we all probably are. Yeah. You could take a point for each game and why you're looking forward to it because it's the SEC and that's exciting. I'm looking forward to Tennessee, like Chad said, for just the atmosphere, and I'm hoping that we can get some type of revenge on that game since we pretty much just gave it away in many ways. But as far as like if you want to say like afraid or worried, I also am in the South Carolina boat because I agreed with like the Sellers being the quarterback that I think is going to be pretty freaking good. So that's the game that I'm worried about. But I am worried about Tennessee because it also falls in like a 4-game streak, I believe. It's like Texas, South Carolina, Ole Miss, and then Tennessee, and then we get a bye week. So my fear at that point is like health, just any energy, stamina, and you're getting later into the season too. So that's also where I get fear. At least like before we play Alabama, we're going to have a week hopefully to recover.
It's the first game of November for the Tennessee game too. So that's
that 5-game run, 4 physical games in a row from Texas down to Tennessee. Yeah,
right.
Good point. The good thing for us though is we were blessed with our schedule. We either have a bye or a cupcake outside of that 4-game stretch before really the bigger game. So like Tennessee, Alabama, there's a gap in between there. So that's a big help to us.
I think it's a bye, Jay.
Yeah, that is a bye. It is. It is a bye. That's what I'm saying. There's a break in between there. Kent State before Texas. You got Illinois State before Michigan. So you get to have a gap in between. You get either a cupcake or a gap that's going to be your saving grace when you're dealing with these bigger games like that.
Hey, Kent State scored first on us last year, so you never know.
I mean, that's fair. And we get a bye right before them too. So
I'm just kidding. See them come out actually though, and they're like, "Oh crap."
Yeah, that would be horrible.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not gonna lie. When they scored first on us, I was like, "Are you joking?" I thought this was gonna be a fun day.
That scared me.
Then it turned out fine.
Yeah,
ended up being a little better. Yeah.
Well, James, did you have anything else for us?
No, you're good, guys. Like I said, I love the show, and Boomer Sooner.
Boomer Sooner.
Boomer Sooner. Thanks, James.
Yeah, I appreciate you for hopping on, man. All right. As always, guys, on Thursdays, you can join in. Of course, Mondays, join in 7 p.m. Central Time with Chad and T over there. Yeah, they're going to be on Sooner Smiths, if I can get that out properly. And then that's at 7 p.m. on Mondays with me on Oklahoma Sooners Live on Tuesdays, and then again on Thursdays, where hopefully all three of us will be able to jump on as often as possible. But at the very least, I'll be here to take in calls. I see we got one more caller here in the green room. We'll get to Bishop real quick. Bishop, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Boomer.
Sooner.
Hey, I'm just excited. Let me give a shout out to our brand new kicker. So glad we got that over with instead of looking through the portal.
There you go.
Wanted to
Fair.
ask you guys, do you see with the collective of people that Venables has stacked with recruits that the competitive depth has put us in a possible playoff scenario?
I mean, I look at it and I feel like it has to be. For one, I think Oklahoma's done really well. Obviously, with what's on the field, I think with what they've built up, of course, the part that you had to build up from last season was the offense, and of course building up the roster around that, and then of course your offensive coordinator bringing him along, the quarterback along with him, and then you've even got the quarterback's coach to also come with him, and then you put Kevin Wilson over there on the offensive side of the ball. So I think that's enough in of itself, but I think Oklahoma has even put themselves not just in 2025, but I think looking forward in a really good position, specifically with today's world in the transfer portal and NIL, with what they've done in the front office, with bringing in Jim Nagy and all of the guys around him. So yeah, I think Oklahoma's put themselves, and specifically, going to what's on the field with Brent Venables, I think they've put themselves in a really good position as far as getting themselves to the college football playoff, not just this season, but then looking forward into the future and what they're able to build upon with what they've done this past offseason.
Yeah, with the defense and how many people we brought back and how much better the defensive line should be this year, Oklahoma statistically will probably have a better defense than last year because a competent offense is going to get you just enough to keep that defense fresher, and plus the depth that we do have there, we should see a better defense. And Bishop, to your point of having more competitive depth to be able to push for like a playoff berth, the offensive line to me has at least 3 deep that can actually play. And that adding the two freshmen in Fasusi and Fogier. Having that level of depth to me puts Oklahoma in a position to where their quarterback should be able to stay upright enough, running back should be able to find holes, wide receivers should be able to get open, and the offense should be able to go out there and win you at least 3 or 4 more. Should be able to win you 4 more games. That's a 10-win season that hits you in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have much to add. They both made pretty much the points I was thinking of. I think just not even looking at what he's added, you look at what other teams are going to be missing this year. There really isn't a team that outside of South Carolina, and maybe LSU, but even LSU, you look at, they lost linebacker. They're going to miss pieces too. If Oklahoma, because I really think a lot of people are just not obviously Oklahoma fans that have followed the team, but the media as writ large are just overlooking just how good the defense had to be to even get to where it was last year. And when you have so many of those pieces coming back, obviously you're missing 3, big pieces, but I think 3 that we can either make up for in depth, or we're going to have pieces that complement those pretty well. You've beefed up defensive line. You've gotten some pieces that add to the depth, and I think again, like Jay was talking about earlier with Marvin Jones Jr., it's a piece that can pop and become an impact player, but it's definitely a piece that's going to give good secondary work whenever R. Mason Thomas is out, or if he needs to go to the other side even. But he's that guy that also gives you that potential where, look, if it works out, Thames could be really good. And, you add that to Okoye and guys of that sort. I just think they have a chance to be one of the best defenses in the country. And then you look at what they added on the offensive line, which obviously we were worried about after last year. And they added Derek Simmons, Luke Baclinko, Mykolov at center, probably going to be the starter from what I'm reading, Mike Cooler. But, they've just added pieces where I thought they needed to. Obviously, the receivers as well. And it looks like, I've heard hopefully Gibson's able to play and get in, some reps earlier in the season than we originally thought. But yeah, I just think they've added where they needed to.
It's really
Yeah.
hard going last, honestly. But I agree along with Jay because I believe I have no fears in our defense. I fear
In
some
comparison
injuries.
to the
Yes.
offense. Yeah.
But my thing is like when you look back on the 2024 season, if we had a mediocre offense, we win 3 more games at least.
Yeah.
A mediocre one. And I mean Missouri, Ole Miss, and I think Tennessee. If we have a pulse of an offense. And we didn't. They were anemic. It was so bad. I only really have words for it.
Yeah.
And I hate saying the words like it really can't get any worse offensively. But I mean it really to
How
me
does
couldn't.
it
So
though?
exactly. How does it? And so for me, if we just have an average offense, again, it takes the pressure off the defense because like in the South Carolina game, I think they only had to go more than 40 yards one time in the entire game.
Mm-hmm.
Because our offense was just turning around right back on them. So if we have an offense that can have any type of threat, I think we put ourselves in a position to win 10 games. I mean, even with our schedule, like people are saying if we win 9, we can be in the playoff because it's that intense. So
Mm-hmm.
I think we're in a good position. Again, maybe that's just me, sucking down some hopium, but
also, you look at strategically when we're getting to play some of these teams. You get Michigan game 2, so even Underwood, I think he'll be really good. But you get your second collegiate game in Norman, where we're 8-2 at night in night games already through Brent Venables' career, and you get that kind of defense with all that experience coming back, and it's your second start. Like that's a lot to ask for a kid, So and then by the time end of the season when the committee's looking at Michigan, it's almost look what Oklahoma did to them. And as much as we hate it, like the fact that it was a second game is going to be lost on a lot of people. They're just going to see assuming we do, OU beat Michigan early in the season. Look what they did to them. This team's one of the 12 best. Let's get them in the playoff.
Yeah. Well, and with Michigan too, I think I brought this point up I think on Tuesday where I don't know for sure if Michigan's that game that I know where Oklahoma's at because we don't really know where
Right.
Michigan's at. But it could be that team that ends up being the team that set Oklahoma up on their journey to having a good season. It could be that team, and it very well could be, and it probably will be. I think Michigan's going to be a good team, better than they were last season. But you got anything else for us, Bishop?
Yeah, I was just predicated on that and knowing that we had consistency with bringing the 3 amigos, Machir, Arbuckle, and Coach K to a Lamborghini that's been ready to rev up and go down the straight. I just think that as much fire test that we went through last year, I think it sets us up to where we don't take nothing for granted and that we're going to play each game for that game and we're going to put in work. We're going to keep spitting fire.
Yeah, and I like the way you put that too. You can't take anything for granted. You know what you had last season, so you're not going to take whatever you have for granted from now on. And I think Oklahoma fans might have just grown complacent too because they haven't had that losing season in a while. So that was definitely something that humbled Oklahoma fans in a good way, I think, and kind of opened their eyes to some issues. But Bishop, I want to thank you very much for calling in, man.
No, thank you guys. Y'all keep spitting fire.
We will.
Y'all did great.
Absolutely.
One.
You too. All right, that's it for the call-ins. I appreciate everybody for calling in tonight. I guess real quick, Jay, before we close up and everything, let everybody know where they can find your stuff.
Yeah, find me here on YouTube, Locked On Sooners, as well as Unfair Sports, and wherever podcasts are downloaded and listened to. Thank you for having me.
And
One year anniversary.
Games. Yeah,
1 year anniversary
over
at
at
Locked On. Can't
How many
believe it.
years is it
I
with
survived.
Unfair?
Been doing that for about 4 years since Brent Venables has been around. So
Okay.
yeah, since 2022. Gosh, I'm getting old.
One of the hardest workers you'll see on the YouTube space and
my
Twitter
back
space,
hurts.
man.
Yeah, my back is hurting, man.
Yeah,
I need to go.
We all usually just listen to Jay's shows and then just type up our notes off of that, and
Yeah.
we're good to go.
Very similar thoughts.
Yeah, I like that.
No, it's all original, but I mean, Jay and I do think pretty alike in many ways, and then he's got that tricky way too of like convincing you to kind of think the same way. that he does too. But he
I
just
mean,
uses,
I just take y'all's ideas and just present them back to you in the way that you present it. It's just
he uses too much logic and reason and puts a bunch of stats together, and then you just feel overwhelmed and you're like, man, I guess,
exactly. I'm gonna fight Boomer 129. We gonna fight.
When
man.
you got
We gonna
when you
fight.
got muscle, you can't help it, man.
He's been coming at me every show, man. Leave my tight shirts alone. Just leave them be.
Well, we want to
That's
tell
awesome.
everybody that jumped in tonight on our live call-in show. Thank you very much for tuning in. Make sure to hit that like button before you close out. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button as well. We're growing on our way to, I want to say 6,000, really close to there right now on this channel.
Nice.
So keep that going. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. If you're watching after the fact, comment down below. We thank everybody so much for tuning in. Of course, join this channel every Monday at 7 p.m. Central Time for Sooner Smiths with Chad and T right over there. And then join on Tuesdays with me, also at 7 p.m. And then again on Thursdays at 7 p.m. Whenever we get to football time, we'll even have more content. So there's going to be all kinds of stuff going. Keep on growing over here. And of course, you can follow us on social media now. We've got Oklahoma at the Voice of College Football social media channels that you can follow on X, Instagram, and even TikTok. So I believe those links are all down in the description below. So go give us a follow over there and help us grow on those platforms as well. But we thank everybody so much for tuning in. Thanks, Jay, for jumping in tonight. And then, of course, Chad and T for jumping in on a Thursday on your guys' busy schedule, too. So anyways, appreciate everybody. We'll catch you next time. Boomer.
Boomer.
Sooner.